I have absolutely nothing to say today. I don't have a thing on my mind. I can't imagine having a thing on my mind now. I feel as empty as the sky and even more relaxed than the sky. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want any answers? What's the question? David, do you have any questions?
No, not at the moment. Thanks, Edji.
I have nothing. This morning I'm a complete blank.
Hello, it's Claudine, Edji.
Hi.
Every time there's spirit, talkings like you do, I immediately go unconscious. But if it's a silent meditation, I can stay awake the whole time. So I'm quite happy if you didn't
Would
say
you
anything.
prefer to sleep or to stay awake?
Well, a part of me prefers to stay awake, really, because I seem to have done a lot of. It just seems a bit strange to go to sleep immediately somebody starts saying anything of any consequence. So I'm quite happy, but I've realized that if I join a silent meditation, I stay awake most of the time. So I'm not quite sure why that is, but that's how it works for me. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you in case you don't want to say anything. I'll be very happy. Either way.
I was not prepared for today's satsang for some reason. It all skipped my mind. So I have nothing to offer. I'm completely empty. I don't even have nothing to offer.
Ed, it's your very emptiness that I come to be with.
Okay.
Hi, Edji. It's Egemen. I want to ask you something. I've been reading the book of Maharshi, Nisargadatta, called Experiencing Emptiness. And in a couple of places, I saw that Nisargadatta is advising some visitors to leave spirituality.
Leave what?
To forget about to leave spirituality and continue with their lives.
And to do what with their lives?
Why is that? To forget about spirituality.
Can you repeat the situation that you were talking about? I don't understand.
I don't remember the situation exactly, but I have read a couple of times that Nisargadatta is saying, continue with your life, don't come here, or similar things. I don't know if you remember it.
Well, I don't know what universe of discourse you snatched that tidbit out of. What? What?
Nothing. My connectivity is not very good. Sorry.
Edji, I think he's talking about how Nisargadatta would kind of drag people out after they've been there a while. Is that right?
I don't know. I wasn't
Like,
there.
after people have been like listening, you know, for some weeks, he'd be like, "Why are you still here? Like, get out of here."
Well, the good teachers are trying to take people out of thinking. And going into direct experience of your own body, your own insides, your own soul. So they don't like fucking around with dialogue, where you get lost in the dialogue because it has meaning, and meaning has everything for most people. Most spiritual teachers want to take you to a place of emptiness, where their own selves are so enormous, they grasp everything. But unless people go there as a result of permission and knowledge of how to do it, it won't work. To go into yourself, you have to shut up. And with a quiet mind, turn your vision inwards towards your body. And your mind can see whether it is empty enough to do this. When you're as empty as space, it's easy, very easy to attain this state of utter happiness with nothing there to fool around with. No mind, no thoughts, no mantra, no anything. Just quietness of your own self. And when you can feel and envision your own self in silence, when you can do that, you've arrived at the source, your source. And then it becomes a teaching function, both of you, and when you grasp onto these as your own for others. You gotta get familiar with silence, silence of your own self, such that when you practice going into meditation, you find out you've already been doing it all along, because you're so used to turning around inside. Jay, when you turn around inside and go inside yourself, what does it feel like?
I started to try to think of a question, something about Robert Adams, but the more I thought about it, the more stressed I became, until I realized that the pointlessness of it. There starts to be a greater seamlessness in my life. I start to feel no separation by everything from everything around me. I start to feel an intensity. I spend my life out but alone. I go among people, but I don't cultivate anyone, because whatever I'm doing is a meditation. whether I'm walking or sitting or whatever. And so I try to look at the landscape, just simply change my view. I think the word is in seeing. I find silence more rhapsodic, more exquisite. Every single moment has just a cacophony of things going on, sounds and lights, and exquisite, just a manifestation of bliss and joy. And not to go too far off the rails with this, but you do this, you have done this to me, and you do it again, and you're doing it now. You bring nothingness to an exquisite level that's absolutely euphoric. So that's why, and I just go deeper with it, and it's almost more than I can bear, the joy of just simply being, pure being in grace and God's love. It's overwhelming, and it's exquisite.
I'm glad you can feel that, Jay. Good for you.
I can't not feel it. I can't not. It's just simply, it just simply starts somehow. Maybe, as I said, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and I love every, baby steps. Just thank you. I love you.
It's easy to do once you know how. But the basic process is to close your eyes, quiet the mind as much as possible, not using force, just not thinking about anything, stabilizing in nothingness. And then turn your attention around from something not you to you. And when you do that, to identify not only with your body's experience, but your own human beingness, observing the world. You quiet down and look into yourself, inside your chest, inside your gut. Feel the emptiness. And see if you feel the magic of being nothing. When your mind's not moving, and it sinks into an observation of your own sense of self as well as your body. And this vision holds steady. You should feel very, very light. Because you're not matter anymore. Matter is not fluid. Matter is dull and heavy. But the spirit inside is light and rapturous. When you can begin to see your own self inside the view as a material meditator. You've been welcomed to the city of God. You're now where you're supposed to be. At the origin of both yourself and the world. It takes you totally away from everyday life. Everyday needs, everyday dreams and thoughts. And you dwell in a vast emptiness with its eternal rest. So you return here every day, gratefully in meditation and then in sleep, to finally get rid of the necessitated or the state necessitated by being mind-body. You become unified in an openness which is empty. There's no thing to be experienced anywhere except the emptiness itself. And gradually you get to know that that's what you are. But it's also what everybody is, even though they don't know this is the case. The more empty you get because of meditation, the more happy you are. Because the world doesn't suck at you anymore. It leaves you alone. From here, you can go into complete nothingness just by turning inside and watching the emptiness as a whole. And then there's emptiness everywhere, within and without. The emptiness accepts all sorts of messages and ideas and points of view. Just as easily as does no thought. But no thought is easier. It's easier to attain, easier to hold on to. When you become an ordinary human being, I mean believing that you're a human being, body, mind, you have a history, you have habitual places to let your mind go and to think about. You're stuck in humanity. But if you don't accept that identification anymore, when you turn inside, you go a lot deeper. You go all the way to the other side of manifestation, which you could call emptiness. And that emptiness is when you make a no mind connection with yourself. By repeatedly going inwards and exploring what your own human emptiness is like. When you explore emptiness, gradually nothing in this life means anything to you. And the emptiness is the master. Its qualities are size, vastness, bliss, and feeling of being alive, being a person, being a sensation within your beingness. You can dive into emptiness by repeatedly dying to your mind. When this happens, the emptiness in you itself recognizes your own emptiness. And you can become locked into a samadhi of self-recognition. But after a while, you recognize this is your rest state. And you really don't have much existence as a body anymore. You're a spiritual entity floating in space with awareness of that space. The key is to get into a mindless state where no thought energy is involved at all. And even the ability to identify with your emptiness in the mind both. With that, you become invisible and silent. When I was young, I thought the highest state with some sort of plateau of awareness where there was no movement. And it's there. Imagine all around you there is silence. And the silence has a presence, but it's a presence of emptiness. And when you can grasp this emptiness, you become more refined than pure air. If you can picture that emptiness, imagine it comes to you. And it takes your mind away, leaving you in thoughtlessness and present. And in this emptiness, there's no question of darkness or light. Because your attention is no longer in the body. It's in the emptiness itself. Which includes your inner state and outer state. It's very pure, unmoving, yet supportive. That is, it doesn't dominate, it supports you. Your job then is just to let go. Go of everything. And you'll rest in the vast emptiness of your own beingness that's been robbed of its clutter. You'll become clear, pure and clear as the air itself. You'll be free of body identification or any identification, and just rest in the vastness of yourself. The reason my camera is moving around is I keep falling out of consciousness. And when I fall out, there's nothing to do anymore. Take rest in yourself. And as you rest there, watch it expand and gradually engulf everything. Your personal self. Grasp just a small bit of who you are. But in the background, you just find a world of silence and of unknowing. This is your nature. When your mind slows down, it rests from talking about everything. Your so-called body starts losing everything. Eventually, even your own sense of presence. And you're resting in a place with no sense of presence. I'll tell you where I am. I am in nothingness. I feel no support anywhere, no resistance anywhere. And I look inside myself, and there's just emptiness. And if I looked at my feelings, I feel a great sense of wellness. and things fitting together. And it really does your soul good to understand that you are nothing. That all the actions you do are nothing. That all you see is nothing. Because when that nothingness grabs you, there's no need for anything else. This nothingness is so powerful. It takes away the sting of death, even. And reabsorbs into one sense of presence. Then you are deathless presence. Let go of yourself. Float free from your body. Expand into the world of nothingness contains us all. You may picture it as you back away from your experience of your body and even your experience of space to get into no experience altogether. And it is an experience. It's these places within yourself you need to visit to show yourself how vast you are, how large you are, how powerful you are, to be able to absorb and taste everything. For all intents and purposes, there's no presence beyond you. You are capable of grasping everything within yourself. And when you get there, it doesn't seem so much. You just interpenetrate all things. All things are in you and are you. And nowhere is there error or danger. When you've mastered your lives to this extent, you are more or less completely in control of what you experience, what level you experience. What you are is pure sentience. You're the light of the world. Through your mind, you reveal the entire world of experience within your own self. You're free to experience anything any human could experience, including godhood, sainthood, gurudom, sink into yourself. Take refuge in your own self. Let your experience of yourself include melting in the body, into the body, and melting into the language totality. Your final station in life is sentience itself, being alive, being aware. And watching this awareness as it comes and goes. And seeing that you are beyond this awareness even. When you can closely observe awareness, you see that which is observing is entirely beyond awareness. That's why emptiness is such a large portion of Eastern spirituality. Let yourself fall away from you. There's so many things within that are a blockage to enlightenment. And there are so many things within consciousness that also help bring you there. When you're comfortable, floating in both emptiness and in your own self, you are free. Because you know the totality of everything. You have intimate knowledge of everything. You're not captured by anything anymore. Awareness of emptiness brings awareness of complete freedom from the world. And this kind of freedom from the world is filled with wonder and lots of bliss. When you have nothing specific on your mind anymore. Your mind floats in a vast emptiness. Go into that emptiness. Become its friend. Now return to your mind and check if anything is there or whether it's still empty. Your mind is large enough to contain everything in absolute silence. It's a space of deep rest and observed infinite extension. Here you become that vast emptiness yourself. Light as a feather, stretching to the stars through consciousness. A vast emptiness everywhere, and you are that. It's this emptiness that the world is projected on, as well as your own subjective world. The emptiness itself is not affected by the quietness or turbulence of your mind. Because you can see deeper than that. You can see into that space. That contains everything. And is itself nothing. This space now can hold you. Does anyone have a question? wish to make a statement.
Hi, Edji. I have a not so serious or not so important question, but I'd like to ask it anyway. In your own opinion, when someone is living from the state that you speak of continuously or fairly continuously, is there an energetic or like some basis for conditions improving in that person's circumstances due to that state that they are abiding in?
I don't know whether it influences the circumstances, but I imagine it does, because you become rested, non-reactive, and kind of distant from everything. So it doesn't touch you as much, and your body doesn't react the same as if everything startled you. But what those changes are due to repetitive experiences of nothingness and emptiness. It appears to be a growth in your own magnitude, your own credibility, your own stature in life, because you become like a rock. Your presence is also like a rock, and vast, with emptiness at its core. You contain the emptiness of the universe and of your own self without any movement, and you'll feel wonderful. You'll feel quiet. You'll feel full and wonderful. You won't want to leave the state, but generally it leaves you after 20 minutes or so. Those who have practiced meditation, though, can stay in it for hours. And you know it'll be there each time that you've left it. You can count on being able to re-enter into its presence. Your own existence becomes like this. It's a vast emptiness, and the body becomes a relatively insignificant part of that emptiness. Your own body experience, I should say. So in one sitting, you could be as large as the universe, or as small as the last drop of consciousness in your body as you leave. So play with it. Get to know it. Get to understand it. Get to understand what your rest self is in consciousness. It's a joy. It's a silence. It's an omnipotence, going beyond even the world. Feel your own grandeur. in your own emptiness. Are there any other questions? Even when your consciousness sleeps, it's still there. Even when consciousness forgets, you're still there. This emptiness is vast. But unless it touches you, it's of no use, no value. So take refuge in your own experience of emptiness. And when you're done with it, drop yourself into that emptiness and become nothing. And watch yourself disappear. Watch the world disappear till there's only nothing. And a feeling of vast nothingness everywhere. I see some of you are back. You didn't like it there, huh? Or you couldn't hold it? Did you get bored being there?
I came back because I'm hearing a pushing a button. They're trying to push a button, and I wonder what is he trying to do?
I was pushing buttons to talk to some computer that wanted to know information about me. I was double, what do you call it? Doing two things at once.
Okay.
Am I forgiven?
Yeah. Always.
Okay. It's time for me to go. But it's also time for you to stay in this meditative state, if you can, to find what it's like to continuously live in emptiness of memory, thought, body, and talking with other people. Bye-bye.